Hello and welcome. World Food Day is an international day celebrated every year worldwide on the 16th of October to commemorate the date of the founding of the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization in 1946. The day is celebrated widely by many other organizations concerned with hunger and food security, including the World Food Programme, the World Health Organization, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. This year's celebration in Taraba State and indeed other parts of Nigeria is significant because of some natural causes that have affected food production, namely the dry spell some months ago when there was cessation in rainfall and currently flooding. How are farmers, the food producers, coping with these challenges? What has the government done and is doing to ensure food security in Taraba State? I am Bem Hanya, and I'm being joined in the studio by the Special Advisor to the Taraba State Governor on Agriculture and Food Security, Mr. Zonal Hassan Mekaswa. Sir, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you for having me.
World Food Day. What does the celebration stand to achieve?
Yes, the World Food Day is a day set aside by the United Nations under the Food and Agriculture Organization. The aim of any of the days set out by the United Nations is to draw attention to the particular subject matter that any of the organs of the United Nations is focusing on, and in this case, Food and Agriculture Organization. Now, to look at the issues relating to food, to look at the challenges, to look at data, what is the data saying regarding who has access to food, who does not have access to food, who has access to quality food, who can eat 3 square meals, who is eating 2 square meals, who is eating just 1 square meal, who does not even have the food at all, and what are the issues responsible for some of these challenges. Are these issues natural? Are they government? Are they legal? Are they what are causing those issues? And then to bring attention towards addressing some of those challenges to ensure that the world has enough food to eat and everybody at least have access to 3 square meals.
The day seeks to bring attention to these issues you mentioned and ensure that people have 3 square meals, yes, and quality food for that matter.
Yes.
Thank you very much. In my introduction, I mentioned the issue of flooding and dry spell that we experienced in Taraba. Yes. Dry spell was some months ago and flooding is being experienced currently. And these are aspects of this year's celebration, that is climate change and food production. To what extent has these affected Taraba farmers?
Yes, so this year has been a very unique year. Even though in the last 10 years, we've been experiencing series of climate change occurrences, ranging from late start of rainfall, sometimes to early cessation of rainfall. Sometimes you have dry spell and then mixed with flood at one point or the other. This has continued to occur. And in some years, we will have extended rainfall. Rain will not stop when it's supposed to stop and it extend. This year, we experienced longer drought beyond expectation. Drought that started within the month of June, lasted throughout July, and up to the middle of August. This affected majority of farmers who usually plant their maize or plant their crops within the month of May, June, and July. And so majority of the people who planted within that period have had cost to replant, and some even after replanting there are still no rain, and then it affected their crops drastically and lead to serious losses. And on the 15th of August here in Jalingo, that was when we had rain, and that rain had continued to fall. And today we are in almost mid of October. The rain is continuing to fall, and then based on prediction by NIMET, it is expected that this rain will also extend into November. So you will have seen that if people had known, they will have started planting by August so that they will be able to have rain in August, in September, in October, and in November, and then harvest can be extended into December. But that is what it is. And now, currently, as the rain continues to fall, flood have started again. Most of the farmlands by the River Benue Valley are experiencing serious damage. Some just harvested to allow their grains to just dry a bit. Before they knew it, rain has overtaken those areas. So it's a serious challenge caused by climate change. It is up to us to now begin to know how best to adapt and how best to manage the situation.
Best to adapt and best to manage the situation. So what are these measures that can be taken to tackle this natural phenomenon?
Yes, so number one is access to early warning system informations. For every natural occurrence, there is always an early warning sign. And God has made it possible for us to be able to study our weather and know what is expected to happen way ahead of time. What we've not been able to do is how to utilize those information. Early this year, NIMET in January or February announced the 2024 seasonal rainfall prediction. And they predicted that there is going to be a dry spell midway. But that information did not go down to the farmers, to people who are expected to use that information. And so people didn't take it serious. It was when the drought was upon us and we were looking for solution, then we remembered that, let's go and check NIMET. And when we looked at NIMET information, we discovered that this drought had been predicted, but we didn't take note of it. Now, what we need to do moving forward is to begin to take this weather information serious, early warning signs serious. Even for floods to come, there are also early warning signs. So it's for us to begin to take it serious. How best do we translate this information to the farmer in the village, in those living by the riverside, in the valleys, and every other citizen, so that we know the right time to plant and the right time when we don't also need to plant to avoid the challenge we faced this year.
Basically, you're saying information is key.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Some months ago,
Yes.
Migratory birds, that is the quail birds, attacked many farmlands, particularly rice farms in Taraba State, and devastated the farmers, so to speak. Is there anything that has been done in terms of curtailing or tackling this challenge?
Yes, so earlier this year, I think within the month of May into June, the Federal Department of Pest Control was alerted and they deployed quickly, bringing their aircraft for the spraying of farmlands across the regions where we had the incidence of quail bats, and they were able to spray across, and that issue has been curtailed. And I think we want to thank the federal government for that speedy response in ensuring that that menace was contained.
Indeed, what the federal government done was commendable. Conflict, security, and hunger are some of the issues that feature prominently during 2024 World Food Day discussion. Taraba State, like other parts of Nigeria, is not left out of insecurity challenge because it affects farmers going to their farms and also displays people, the farmers. So how do you think this can be tackled to ensure adequate food production?
Yeah, so in Taraba State, over the last maybe last 4, 5 to even 8 years, we've had series of crises that has affected several farming communities, that has led to displacement of people leaving their communities, moving to other locations, people who left their own ancestral land, or who have to go and become refugees in other land. and then have to now start looking for land where they will cultivate. That had been a very serious issue. Some have even cultivated the land, and we are not able to go back to harvest their fields because of incidents of kidnappings and banditry in the bush. Now, with the coming of this administration led by Dr. Abu Kefas, one of the things he has taken so seriously is to ensure that we have adequate security across the state. And so with that, we've been able to see great reduction in incidents of banditry, in incidents of kidnapping, even right into the interiors of our communities. Today, farmers are able to return to their farms. You can now go into the farm, you can even stay up tonight and still return safely. That has been very commendable. Even though there are still areas with incidences once in a while, government is at it, and government is also working to ensure that our people have the needed security to grow the needed food. Because if you displace human beings, you're also reducing the quantity of food that we are supposed to eat all as a nation. And so ensuring that every citizen have access to security, it's a very critical issue for government.
Ensuring citizens have access to security is something important for government, and the Taraba State government is doing so much in this regard. We would like to commend His Excellency for that. Over time, Taraba State and other parts of Nigeria, and even Africa as a whole, has agriculture in this part of the world has been subsistence, so to speak, using the rudimentary implements like the hoe and the cutlass. Do you think it's time for us to move away from this and embrace mechanized agriculture for optimal productivity?
Yes, subsistence farming is the system of farming where smallholder farmers, majority of our farmers who are basically smallholder farmers, rely on small hectareage, some 2 hectares, some less than 1 hectare to be able to cultivate. And these are the people who have been feeding us all this while. And they've been lacking in terms of advancement in technology, modern inputs. Even with the advancement in technology, in science, our farmers have continued to remain with the hoe for a very much longer time than expected. And this is a huge challenge. It increases labor, it increases the cost of production, and as well as also reduce what we are expected to get. And so it is also the duty of government to ensure that government intervene in ensuring that they have access to farm mechanization, equipment, tools and techniques, improve seeds, improve pesticides to be able to tackle the incidence of weed, incidence of insect pests that's ravaging most of our crops, to ensure that we increase our yield. This is a big issue across Africa, and it's particularly to us even here in Taraba State. And you will have noticed that with the coming of His Excellency Dr. Abu Kefas, one of the main issues he has chosen to address is to mechanize our agriculture. And that led him to be able to go out and seek out for tractors that will address the need of smallholder farmers. And today we have compact, what we call the cabrio compact tractor, which is a 50 horsepower tractor that has 4-wheel, and we have what we call the Global Mini hand-working tractor with several implements that will help our farmers to be able to address some of these issues to enable them save time and also increase crop production.
Farmers will save time and increase crop production. So with the distribution of these tractors, have they reached the target population? Are they using it?
Yes, so the tractors arrived early this year. The process of accessing the tractors have commenced by majority of our farmers. A significant number has been taken by farmers. Government has subsidized these tractors by 50%, and even though the distribution, the procurement is low, farmers are expected to show up once you're able to pay up your 50%, you have access to the tractors, you pay the remaining 50% in the next 4 years. So that has been done, and majority of other farmers also are waiting to see the performance of these tractors on the field by those who have acquired it. So hopefully within the next dry season, these tractors will be deployed fully, and people will be able to see the capacities of these tractors, and once they see that, the interest in acquiring it will definitely increase. Also, a number of other farmers are also waiting for this coming harvest to be able to raise their needed amount for them to pay up and then take possession of those tractors. So on a daily basis, people are coming and they are picking.
People are coming on a daily basis and are picking. Tractors are just one aspect of inputs.
Yes.
You will agree with me that inputs and capital have been a challenge for farmers in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. The access to these things, capital, inputs like improved seeds, herbicides, and other chemicals. What do you think can be done, or is government doing anything to address these challenges in Taraba State?
Yes, access to capital is a very serious issue, especially for farmers. And it is also a big challenge to financial institutions who see farmers as high-risk category of persons whom they are always afraid to extend lending to. In view of that, government has devised means of trying to solve that problem. And one of it is government intervention in input provision, subsidizing input. And as I mentioned earlier, Taraba State government has gone ahead to be able to subsidize farm mechanization equipment by 50%. Secondly, government has also procured fertilizer, which was distributed to our farmers early this year and highly subsidized rate. Thirdly, the federal government also has gone ahead to support the state with additional 70 trucks of assorted fertilizers for onward distribution to Taraba State farmers, which dry season farmers will start benefiting, in the coming dry season. Additionally, the federal government through the NACS program have gone ahead to also provide additional inputs that include seeds, pesticide, fertilizers at a 25% discount, at about 75% discount. The farmers were only allowed to pay 25% the value of those inputs, valued at over about 200,000 naira. And so some of these things are interventions that government is doing, while government is still working to ensure that financial institutions are able to increase lending to farmers. Government is taking steps to ensure that they do their own part to reduce the burden of farmers in accessing these inputs, which they will have used if they have access to financing.
Government is ensuring that financial institutions provide this capital, yes, and it's also doing its part. That's commendable. These days, around agricultural discourse, one keeps hearing of a sustainable agricultural practice. What does this mean, and how can it benefit the average farmer in Taraba State?
Yes, sustainable agricultural practice is all about ensuring that while you are growing food today, you should also be aware that the same land you are using, you should use it in such a way that it will be available for your own children, your own grandchildren. Do not use it in such a way that tomorrow you can't use it and your children cannot use it. And so the issue about sustainability is to ensure that we use the land in a more responsive way, that we guarantee us to continue to use the land, and then even when we are not here, people who will inherit us will also be able to use the land. And so practices that will ensure that the soil that we use is well rejuvenated, we do not degrade it, we do not use it in such a way that over time it becomes valueless. And so things that will require replenishing the soil, rotating your crops, planting nitrogen fixing trees, on the land to be able to protect the land from excessive rainfall, excessive sunlight, are encouraged. And also excessive use of farm mechanization practices like deep plowing, whereby you plow the land and you allow rainfall will wash up the organic matter, and over time you discover that those soils become so sandy, and then the nutrients in the soil are no more there. If you even put fertilizer, it leaches away. So practices such as that are things that we're encouraging farmers to avoid, and for them to also adopt the use of compost, compost manure, using animal waste, using plant waste to be able to incorporate into their soils to continue to so that they can continue to produce. So these are sustainable measures that farmers are encouraged to continue to use. The whole essence is use the land and make sure that people after you can also be able to use the land profitably.
Use the land and ensure that people after you will use it profitably.
Yes.
Recently, the federal government of Nigeria created a Ministry of Livestock Development, which was just a department, so to speak, in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I think this is because government wants to boost animal husbandry and the value chain therein. Taraba is one of the states in Nigeria that has a lot of does a lot of animal husbandry, cattle, sheep, goat, and name it. How do you think the state can benefit from this this new ministry that has been created?
Yes, so for a very long time, the livestock sector has been relegated to the background, to the point that the livestock sector has been viewed as a crisis-driven sector, whereby issues of herders, grazers, and farmers have been a big challenge. And so government, Taraba State government, through the committee set up by His Excellency Dr. Agbukefas, has drawn up plans on how best to be able to encourage the use of pasture development, where farmers are able to grow their grass and they are able to rear their animals, as well as being able to profitably keep animals and make huge profit in such a way that they will also utilize the manures that these animals are providing for for their crops. And so the committee is coming up with a much more modern way, whereby both herders and crop farmers are able to live peacefully and make their businesses. Also encouraging crop farmers to also go into livestock production because of the intended benefit and the increasing income that they will continue to have almost throughout the year. And so these are the steps I think the state government is taking towards ensuring that we have that. And also we have the World Bank funded program called the LPRES, Livestock Productivity Resilience Support Scheme, which is a project of the World Bank aimed at boosting the livestock sector, and Taraba State have subscribed to it and is currently being implemented.
Okay, that's commendable. Yeah. Last but not the least, time is not on our side.
Yeah.
This year's theme for World Food Day is Right to Foods for a Better Life and Better Future. What does this mean?
Yes, this is also to reiterate the fact that for every individual on this planet Earth, it is his own right to be fed at least 3 times in a day. And not only to be fed, to have access to food, well-nourished food that will nourish his body to enable him grow well, think well, and live a better life. And in doing that, to also ensure that this food is also produced in such a way that we can continue to eat it even into the future, that our children will also grow and continue. Let's not eat all the food, produce all the food, destroy our environment today, that our children tomorrow will not be able to utilize it. And that also calls for sustainability. And that's why for our better future is also critical.
For a better future, it is important to practice agriculture in such a manner that our children afterwards will also practice it responsibly. Yes. Mr. Zanau Hassan Mekaswa, Special Advisor to the Taraba State Governor, Dr. Bukefas, thank you so much for finding time to come on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I hope when next we invite you, you also come.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that has been the Special Advisor to the Taraba State Governor, Zanau Hassan Mekaswa, doing justice on this week's edition of Guest of the Week. Hope you keep a date with us, same time, same station, next week. And from me, it is bye-bye.